There we go. Here we go.
Brilliant. Okay.
Wonderful.
I'll just put it on mute
I appreciate you, you fitting me in. I really do.
and I really appreciate you moving slightly for us as well today.
I know things can get hectic.
It's been a bit hectic, yes, and I'm not 85, so.
How much time are we allocated? Just so I know questions to ask.
I think an hour 40 minutes or so.
Oh,
sorry, not an hour 40 minutes. I had put half an hour in, but if
perfect.
if he's on the roll, fine.
Great.
Yeah, you'll be fine. Okay, Jodie, I'm just going to put you on mute for a minute, just in case there's a bit of background noise while I get him here.
Okay. Do I call him Lord Archer, or do I call him Jeffrey?
Well, if you start with Lord Archer, he'll probably say Jeffrey, because in sort of professional circles,
Should I ask him?
Ask him. Yeah, I mean he's a friendly sort. He might appear a little gruff, but it's just his manner.
Okay.
But you'll be fine. You'll be fine. I'll just put you on mute and I'll get him in. Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Mary. Appreciate it.
Okay. So I'm not Mary actually. I'm Danny.
Danny. Okay.
But Mary, we use Mary's machine. His
There
wife,
you go.
Dame Mary, we use her machine. So hence, we're not touching, we're not messing with anything. We're just, come on. Hold on a sec.
Kept you.
There we go, Jodie.
Sorry to have kept you. Sorry.
Hey.
I'm pretty sure the sound is
Oh,
okay.
it's not 4 o'clock yet. I'm 1 minute early.
How are you?
I am not sorry to have kept you. I'm 1 minute early.
Well, I started the recording early, so.
Quite right.
It's so nice to meet you. I'm sorry I didn't get to meet you in person when I was in the UK, but I guess this is the next best thing.
Yes, quite right.
And should I call you Lord Archer or may I call you Jeffrey?
You may call me my lord or Jeffrey, whichever you prefer.
I will call you Jeffrey. Well, I am Jodie, and I'm so excited to be able to talk about the end game with you.
Why?
Why
are you so excited to talk about the end game with me? Why?
Because I was enthralled by the topic of what went on behind the scenes at the 2012 London Olympics.
Yeah. No, I flew over to Monaco to see Seb Coe and asked him, because it's always thought of, and quite rightly so, as a great triumph. But I said, did anything go wrong? He said, well, I'm not the right person to ask. You should ask Commander Bob Broadhurst, who was head of security. And as my last book, Endgame, is about the final one in the series, was 2012. I decided to set it at the Olympics. So I went to see Commander Broadhurst and I said, did anything go wrong? And he said 14 things went wrong. One would have closed the opening ceremony. One, they'd have had to clear the stadium. The other 12 were minor, but would have made headlines. Of that, there's no question. And he then told me the 14. And I weaved those 14 into Endgame, but I added 7 from my own imagination. So when you get to the end of the book, you have to decide which are the 14 that actually happened and which are the 7 were figments of my imagination.
Well, I've been watching your interviews on that you've done with Sky News and some of the other British the morning shows, and you mentioned 2 of the actual events that occurred. One was the cyclists that laid down to prevent the Queen from arriving. The other one was about the South Korean national anthem being
Oh, yes,
played at the women's football
yes,
game.
that was a tiny one. A women's football match between uh, South Korea and North Korea, and I think it was Portugal, and they played the North Korean. They played the wrong national anthem, and Sepko had to apologise about that. The other one was a much bigger deal. The cyclists were meeting 100 of them every Friday to protest about the lack of bicycle lanes. And it was a fair thing. The government had said that's fair enough, you can do that. And one of the Fridays turned out to be the opening ceremony.
Mm.
So they decided if they could get 100 people to the tunnel and lay down in the middle of the road with their bicycles, the Queen would never get to the stadium.
Right.
The opening ceremony couldn't be opened.
Right.
So that was a pretty big deal. And well, I won't tell you what happened, because what actually happened, really happened, is in the book.
Now, those are 2 of the truth. Can you give me a sneak peek on a third one, or those are the
What,
only 2 you're going to tell me?
truth or not true?
uh, a true fact.
No, I will not give you a third
Oh.
one on the truth, you greedy little piglet. 2 is quite enough.
And I did research in order to find out those 2. I should get a pat on the back for that.
Well done. Well done.
But what drew you to the Olympics? I mean, there were so many things that were happening. There's so many events that you could have selected to be Warwick's, swan song. What made the Olympics? What drew you to that particular event?
Well, he was a commander in the Metropolitan Police Force at the time of 2012.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very tempting to use 2012 as a center point. I myself had run for my country, so I had an affection and love of athletics for all my life. And I suppose the combination of having a knowledge, I've been to 5 Olympics as a spectator, and I suppose that, and I'd been to the opening ceremony here in Britain, and I'd seen Bolt running and I'd seen Farrar running. I was in the stadium for both. And so I thought I must use this knowledge. I always say to young authors, Judy, I always say to young authors, write what you know about.
Mm-hmm.
The public will realize you're talking on a subject you have knowledge of. And because I had knowledge of the Olympics, a love of the Olympics, and it fell neatly in with him being a commander, that combination was irresistible.
I can understand that. Other than the events which could have prevented the Olympics, what else did you learn about behind the scenes things that really intrigued you when you were writing the book?
Well, that a lot of the time they're sitting around doing nothing, and then suddenly 3 panics come up at once. You can't know when there's going to be a panic. You can't know when something is going to happen. And it can be minor and you've got to deal with it. It can be major and you've got to deal with it. And the public mustn't know it's happening. They must go sit in their seats, watch the event. They don't know what's going on behind them. And what was so clever about Commander Broadhurst is that the games came to an end and no one knew anything about the 14 incidents. That was a triumph for him. And although he said to me the other day, Judy, a very interesting comment he made when we were waiting to go on a television program, he said to me, I wouldn't like to be doing a modern Olympics. And I said, why? And he said, you think about drones, Jeffrey. I never had to think about drones. And he said it's becoming more and more difficult to run a major event. And the Olympics, of course, is worldwide. A couple of 100 countries, 70 languages. It's, not easy.
Mhm. Well, we have the Olympics coming up in LA. I forget, it's 2028. So I
Yes,
just
I went.
imagine,
I went to the last Olympics in Los Angeles, and they were run beautifully.
mm,
The man in charge was remarkable. He ran a very great games. Can't say the same for Atlanta.
mm.
Los Angeles, but Los Angeles will have its problems.
Yes, it will.
You're gonna, you're gonna welcome to your city 250,000 people
Right.
who speak 50 languages, and out of the 250,000, 245,000 will be wonderful, straight, honest people.
Mm.
4,000 not quite, and 1,000 who knows. Security nowadays is, with the modern world the way it is not easy.
Well, it's not only physical security, it's cyber security that they have to
Yes,
worry about as well.
yes. As we touch on in the book, you're quite right. It's very easy to conduct that sort of aggression without even leaving your own country.
Right. That's right. Now, one of the things, I'm asking this as a fellow writer, when you mentioned real people in your
Yes,
book,
yes.
do you take any precautions so as not to tread on their toes, or do you
Oh,
just tell
yes.
it like it
I
is?
don't write. I've been now writing for 50 years, 49 years, and I don't say anything unpleasant about a person I write about who is alive.
Mhm.
So they are usually, if they read the book or hear about it, they're flattered when,
Mhm.
Bolt and Mo Farah and Seb Coe all come out of the book very well.
Mhm.
Uh, and so that's not a problem. It's if you start libeling them or saying something unpleasant that isn't true. So
Mhm.
no, I've always enjoyed mixing in
Mhm.
uh, a few well-known names into the story to make the story have a feeling of truth about it.
I could tell this particular one. I mean, you talk about Prince Harry, you talk about the Queen, and I mean, it seems like the royalty is such a drawing point to people. I thought that was so interesting that they were interwoven into your narrative.
Yes. Well, the Queen, of course, opened the ceremony, and as we all know, was pushed out of the plane, and as we all know,
Right.
landed safely in the royal box. I'm not quite sure how she did that, but it was a remarkable feat, and the nation, the world, loved it. They thought that was fun, and I thought it was amazing that the great lady even agreed to it.
Mhm.
She joined in the fun, and everybody enjoyed it.
Your plots are so, especially this one, are very detailed, and you have a lot of characters and a lot of subplots and events, especially in the end game. Do you do you outline them ahead, or or is it something that are you a pantser? I'm asking.
No, I'm a storyteller. I
Mhm.
turn the page and pray. My theory is, if I know what is coming, clever people like you will work it out. If I don't know what is coming, you can't know what is coming.
Mhm. Has it been that way your entire literary career?
Entire career, I have never known what's on the next page. Of course, I know roughly where we're going, but even in my latest book and my final book, even in my final book, uh, I changed a page this morning, removed two characters and put two new characters in. And that's on its 17th draft.
Mm. Hmm. And is it a standalone, or is it part of one of the series that you already
No,
have?
no, it is the final book. It's a standalone. I got the idea 6 years ago when I read a speech by Adolf Hitler and
Mhm.
realized he wasn't just ranting and raging, policy was in there. I saw the counter speech by Winston Churchill, and I spotted something that happened on September the 15th, 1941, where Hitler changed his mind 3 times in one day, and
Mm.
that might have changed, quite literally, the history of the world.
Mm. Hmm. And when is the book coming out?
I think that'll be next September. Uh, I've promised the publishers have already read it. I've promised it'll be finally in by Christmas, so they can prepare for it because they know it's the final book. They know I'm not going to write another novel. This one, in my view, having discovered this amazing thing that happened on September the 15th is the biggest story I've ever had. I think it's bigger than Cain and Abel. And
Mm,
so I've had to put an awful lot of work in.
mm. Why are you retiring?
I will be 86. And the honest answer to your question is I can name, and I will not,
Mm,
I can name 5 authors whose last book was a disgrace.
mm, mhm,
2 of them at Alzheimer's. One
mhm,
of them did it only for money.
mhm,
One of them didn't even write it.
mhm,
I,
mhm.
I'm not in that game. I want this to be the best thing I have ever done. And I want you to sit there and say it's better than Cain and Abel.
Well, it's funny. I distinctly remember reading Cain and Abel when it first came out. I mean, I've been a fan of yours. My husband has been a fan of yours since the beginning, and that is a book to this day, all these years later, that I still remember. I remember the characters and the relationships and the tension between them, and it's just one of those books that really stays with you.
That's very
Now,
kind.
and
It's on its 142nd reprint.
incredible. Absolutely incredible. I saw on your website that Sony and 11 are going to be doing a serialization.
I think, yes, that's correct. But you know as well as anybody, because you've been in the game for a long time, you don't
Hmm,
start celebrating until you're eating the popcorn.
right, exactly.
I think, I think, yes, yes, they are, but I'm not getting overjoyed yet.
Hmm. Well, there was a serialization of this many, many years ago, and
Yes,
miniseries were
BBC,
very big.
BBC. Well, yes, but it was a bit of a cheat. You have to remember, young lady, that when that came out, there were only 3 television programs.
Mm,
BBC One, BBC Two,
mm,
ITV. I had BBC. 17 million people watched it. That can't happen today
right,
because there are 400 television programs.
right,
Everybody saw Cain and Abel. I mean, it was that or nothing. And
right.
I got very lucky.
But that made the careers of many of the actors who were in that program.
Yes, it didn't do them any harm. You're quite right. And of course, Mr. Wilkinson
Mhm,
went on to great fame, and rightly so.
right.
A very fine actor, very fine actor. And yes, that was his breakthrough part.
What about the television
Oh no,
adaptation?
sorry. No, that was First Among Equals. No, Sam Lee. Sam,
Sam, yeah.
he had a hell of a breakthrough because of that. Yeah.
But also, it was on,
Nice
I
man.
remember it was on American television too.
Sorry.
I remember that it was on American television, that Nick Nolte was in it. And
Yes, yes. We got, yeah, you get lucky with that. You get your, and uh, and that's why I've got 5 books in production at the moment. 5. Don't ring me until one of them's on the screen, which means I'll never see you again.
so, what is the name of the book that is going to be your last and final book?
That will be announced on January the 1st, and it is not going to be an exclusive on this program because it is also the best title I've ever had. It's as
That's
good as a title,
mhm.
it's as good as Cain and Abel. So, no, I'm not telling you because it could be stolen by someone else who puts it on their book. No, January the 1st, it will be announced.
And what is the key to your longevity in the publishing field? Is there one thing that you can attribute it to?
I think storytelling. I think people like simple storytelling. I don't go in for sex, violence, bad language. I try to tell a story from page 1 to the end. A lady stopped me in the street yesterday and said, I picked up Endgame at 5 o'clock from my bookshop and I finished it at 4 o'clock the next morning. Curse
Mhm.
you, she said. And those same people then look at you and say, another one by next week. I mean, it's not, they don't realize it takes 1,000 hours to write a
Right.
book. And but yes, I was very flattered by that. And this one has received, well, it's had 1,000 reviews in the first
Mm.
by the public, 1,000 reviews in the first week, and they're giving it 4.7. So I can't grumble.
Now that you bring up an interesting point, reviews and people, people reviewing it online and on Amazon. What changes have you seen in the publishing industry since you started in the 70s?
Oh, so many, and you're right to raise them. Um, First and foremost, it was a lot easier to be published. It was difficult for me. My first book was turned down by 14 publishers, but it was a lot easier to be published 50 years ago than it is now.
Mhm.
The publishers are getting 1,000 books a week,
I know.
out of which one gets published. So
Right.
it's far more difficult now. It's also far more difficult to get on the bestsellers list.
Mhm.
And new fads come and go. I mean, I've been going for 49 years, but the latest fad is, as you will well know, fantasy romance, and
Right.
they're selling bucket loads of
Right.
fantasy romance. Will they be here in 5 years' time? Nope. But there'll be
Right.
something new. There'll be something we haven't thought of, which we're selling buckets. The thing
Mm.
I'm most proud of is that, as I told you, Cain and Abel's on its 142nd reprint, and I'm still writing simple stories, and the
Mhm.
public is still buying them.
Mm. So it's also there's been a change in the technology too.
Oh, yes. The big thing is when you wanted to check something, you had to go to a library and get out a non-fiction book, probably Encyclopedia Britannica, and
Right.
work away at looking for it. Now, in my latest book, I have a phone by my side. I press a button and say, what years was King George V on the throne? When
Mhm.
did Hitler make this speech? Whatever it might be. When did Winston Churchill reply? Up it comes
Right.
straight away. That's one of the big changes,
Mm.
that you can get the information you require so quickly.
Mm. What about e-publishing? I mean, that's also been a tremendous boon to the industry. Before it was always paperbacks and hardbacks. Now you have, digital delivery of your books in an instant.
Well, I used to be 10 years ago, 1% of my readers were on audio.
Oh,
Nine,
really?
9% are now on audio.
Yeah.
That world has changed. Ebooks used to be 12%, it's now 31%.
Mm.
So, yeah, the world has changed completely. And this is good for authors because more people are finding you. And you've got
Yes.
to remember, in this modern world, Jody, you've got to remember you're asking someone to spend 8 hours in your company.
Hmm.
That's a lot in this modern age with short time concentration.
Right.
Asking someone to spend 8 hours is that's the biggest challenge in modern writing.
Do you find that most of your readers are men or women?
60% women, 40% men.
Yes, I found that too, that it seems like that is the trend, that more women are reading than men.
Oh, yes. I think that is, but there are some books that would be 90% women,
Mm.
and there are some books which would be much heavier on men. So if you have an SAS book,
Right.
it's likely to be much heavier on men. But you have a fantasy romance, you won't find many men reading it. So, but the average is 60-40.
When
And
you've done,
I am the average. And indeed, when they did a test, my publisher did a test
Mhm.
without my name on the cover,
Mhm.
and uh, 80% thought the writer was a woman. I was
Really?
I was very flattered by that, very flattered, because
Yeah.
capturing a woman so that she comes off the page is not easy.
No. It's not. I think writing for a character of the opposite sex is extremely challenging.
Exactly. And the biggest change, now you mention it, is if you look at the bestsellers list, some weeks, 8 of the top 10 are women.
Yes. Right.
The days of John Grisham, Stephen King, and Jeffrey Archer, when we dominated the list.
It's still that way. I mean, Stephen King still
But
dominates. I mean,
he's brilliant.
you guys still dominate the lists.
No, he's a brilliant writer. Mm.
So I also noticed on your website you have a tab for Story Lab. What is the story behind Story Lab?
Sorry, I lost you then.
Oh, I said on your website you have a tab for Story Lab where you have your short stories and you seem to invite filmmakers to take that content. Can you tell
Yes.
me a little bit about that? That's fantastic.
Well, I believe in the young. The next generation is always more impressive than the last. We have a lot of damn good filmmakers desperate to make a break, and that lab is there for them to take any of my stories and have a go.
Mm.
And that's fine. I'm delighted to help them. On the other extreme, I had lunch today with David Suchet,
Mhm.
and we were discussing Poirot and
Mhm.
Agatha Christie. And here he is, 80 years old, and we were at the same school. And he was discussing what he was still going to do at the age of 80. So the young, and we're all there, we're all in there still trying.
I think that's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Has anybody taken advantage of your story lab?
Yes, hundreds.
Oh, wow. And
Yeah,
do you
very
see them?
popular. You can take one of my stories, you can make a short film of it, you can enjoy it, you can experiment, and I don't charge a penny.
That's wonderful. That's absolutely wonderful. What advice would you give your younger self as a writer?
I'm not a writer, Jodie.
Mm.
I'm a storyteller.
Storyteller, what
And
would you
I
say?
say, go to the ballet. And they say, what are you talking about, Jeffrey? I say, go to the ballet. Look at the prima ballerina. Imagine how many hours she spent becoming the prima ballerina. And then look at the dancers behind her and think how long they spent just being on the stage with her. Then think about the thousands of girls who would love to be on that stage with her. Why would it be any different trying to be number one on the New York Times bestsellers list? You've got to work very hard, but you've also got to pray. You've got a God-given talent to
Mm.
tell a story.
That's true. That's definitely true. Oh, sorry. It really is a challenge for writers to we were talking about the way the publishing is today. Not only is a writer responsible for telling a story, they're also responsible for marketing. I mean, there's all of that pressure that I think writers now, because of the competition out there with
Yeah,
all these stories, I feel that, I don't think that maybe for you it's different, but for most writers, they're responsible for the marketing and the publicity. And that's
I
really different.
which well, I do that, as you know, a lot of
Oh, I
publishing.
know you do. Yeah.
Partly because I do it, partly because I'm a show off, and partly because I enjoy it. I'm actually in this aspect of it. I enjoy. I enjoy it, telling people about my book. But let's face it. In the end, the public decide.
Mm,
You can put your book out there. You then got to pray.
right.
You can have a runaway success, as some people have. You can fail completely and never write again.
Mm,
It will be the public who tell you the truth.
that's true. That's true. Now, from looking at the morning programs you were on, you're still very interested in politics.
Yes.
What
I,
do
the president of France rang me this morning and asked me if I'd like to be prime minister. Seems to be getting fairly
Job is
desperate.
open. The job's open.
Well, no, he's fairly desperate to find someone, and everyone else is then. So I've got to decide by this evening whether I want to be prime minister of France.
What do you think about what's going on in the US? Do you have any opinion on that?
I think it's fascinating. I don't understand it. When I had the privilege and honor of working for Margaret Thatcher, Ronald Reagan and George Bush Sr. were the leading American politicians, and that was the standards I got used to. And Margaret Thatcher was the standards I got used to. And so when I see Donald Trump saying, I'll solve the Ukrainian war on day one,
Mhm.
and then here we are 6 months later, and it's certainly not solved. If anything, it's worse. I'm praying he's got the Gaza right. He
Mhm.
seems to have made an amazing breakthrough there, and I wish him luck. But it's not a political world I understand, and I don't know how it's going to end. My mother would have suggested it will end in tears.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, right now we're in a government shutdown because the Democrats and the Republicans can't agree on a budget and the extension of
Yes,
certain.
and they've closed the legislation down. It's a terrible thing. The sad thing, I think, is the Democrats. The Democrats don't have a leader of the opposition, as
Right.
we do in Britain. So there's several people playing the part of leader of the opposition, which plays into Trump's hands.
Mhm.
If you're dealing with one person the whole time, it's much more difficult. If you're dealing with half a dozen, you just knock them off one by one. So, and he's got another 3.5 years to go, and we've got to remember that. And heaven knows what the world will look like in 3.5 years' time.
You know, it's interesting that you say that because when I was in London recently, my husband and I took one of those tours of the Parliament.
Oh, yes.
And it was really interesting to me the history behind, uh, honestly, the history behind the Parliament. You know,
You
as
mean the
an American,
building?
the building
Yeah,
itself,
yes.
and I didn't really understand until I was there that it had been a court of law at a time. It had been a palace
Westminster Hall, where they tried the king.
where they tried the
Yes.
kings, where,
Well, it is still called the Palace of Westminster.
hmm,
That is its correct title. You think of it as the House of Commons and the House of Lords. Its
yes.
correct title is the Palace of Westminster.
And I was surprised that there was a dressing room for the king, that there was still that type of ceremonial space involved in the Parliament.
Yes, the king is allowed to come to the House of Lords and read the king's speech, which
Mhm.
has been written by the government of the day. He
Mhm.
has no say in it. He is not allowed to enter the Commons. He is
Mhm.
physically would be repelled if he attempted to enter the Commons. And long may that be so, because that's democracy. He's our head of state. He's a figurehead. He mustn't get involved in politics.
But it was also interesting the difference between the two arms. You had a very ornate House of Lords, and you had a very, I don't want to say
Down to earth.
common, yeah,
Yeah.
House of Commons.
Yeah, well, the House of Commons is where the real power is. The
Mm.
House of Commons is where the action and the bills are done. We in the House of Lords, we do a lot of changing of a sentence here and a sentence there, trying to strengthen legislation and play, in my view, now that I'm no longer serving in the House of Lords, I would say that the Lords play a very important role, but they're not the power. The power is in the Commons, and rightly so.
Well, you've led a very interesting life politically and artistically. Um, what will you do once you're retired?
I will not retire. When I finish my last book, I shall,
Yes,
I hope, write short stories.
there you
I
go.
hope write a play, maybe a film. I hope become prime minister. Captain. I want to be captain of the England cricket team. That's
There you
looking.
go.
And I want to run the 100 meters at the Olympic Games. There are still things I want to do.
Well, that's exciting because as long as you're not retiring from writing, I think the world will appreciate that. A short story from Jeffrey Archer would be a wonderful thing after that.
It's very kind. I've written 92 short stories, and in the old days, they used to go to #1. They don't any longer. The
Mm.
public aren't interested in short stories any longer. I always love writing them because people often say to you, oh, if I wrote my book, it would be a bestseller. People don't have a book in them, but they often have an incident, a short story where they've experienced something no one else has done before. And I search for those all the time. And out of the 92 short stories I've written, I would suggest that 60 of them have come from people telling me an incident that happened in their life.
Mm. I find that short fiction is much more difficult for me to write than a novel.
Every word has to count in a short story. You can't waste a sentence. You can't waste a word. You've got to get it down in 20, 30 pages, and
Right.
it's got to count. It's as difficult as writing a novel.
Mm. Novels, though, that you have a little bit more breadth. You can there's a little more leisure to your storytelling, where short stories have to be tight. They really have to be tight.
They have to be stories. They
Right.
have to be incidents that have happened. You've got to have something that to give you an example. Uh, I wrote once a short story about a remarkable lady who conned her husband and her lover into buying the same diamond necklace. Well, you've got it in one line.
Mhm.
And the jeweler, the great Lawrence Graff, told me how it happened, and I wrote it. But it wasn't a novel, Jodie. It was a short story.
Right, exactly. If you want, if you were to, if what do you want your readers to know about the end game?
Well, the series, which starts with William Warwick as a constable on the beat, where he then goes to the art squad. In book 2, he's a sergeant, where he's in the murder squad. In book 3, he's in the drug squad. You can buy any book you like. In the final book, he's now become a commander. And is he going to become commissioner of the Metropolitan Police? But he is given the almost impossible task of being in charge of security for the London Olympics. And it doesn't quite go to plan.
Yeah. Well, it was wonderful. I really enjoyed reading it. I really enjoyed speaking with you today. I appreciate your time. I really do.
That's very kind. Thank you. I'm very touched by all over the world in so many countries and so many languages, the kindness I receive. And I repeat, allowing me to spend 8 hours in someone's company. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. And I hope next time when your new book comes out and if I can get to London to meet you, I'll be able to do it in person.
Yes, please.
Thank you again, Jeffrey. It was wonderful speaking with you.
Thank you, Jerry. Loved it as always.
Thanks.
Take care.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.